As the summer heats up, so do the stories around New York sports. We are just past Independence Day. We're approaching the Midsummer Classic. As for me, this summer's going way too quickly. So, for the first New York Sports Rapid Rundown episode of July, we're going to talk about the hottest three topics in New York sports, and we're going to do it with the great college basketball reporter for the New York Post. He's also a Brooklyn native. I go way back with this guy, covering high school basketball in various gyms across the city. My guy, Zach Braziller. Zach, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me. We could have shot this at Boys and Girls High School.
Yeah, we should have done that. We go back to, for folks who don't know, a lot of high school basketball coverage in tons of gyms across the city, Boys and Girls being one of them. I think they would have had us to do it there. I think that would have been pretty cool.
Ruth loved me, man.
Yeah, shout out to Ruth Lovelace. Shout out to Ruth Lovelace there. Now, Zach, how's the summer going? I know college basketball season over for you. You get moved around with us here at the Post doing a lot of different work. How's the summer been going, covering all the different sports?
Good, man, good. You know, we just got through the NBA draft. It was the draft of Bronny. He was the guy that most people cared about because it was one of the worst top of the drafts in a long time. So the draft was fun. You know, St. John's has wrapped up their roster a few weeks ago, so that was nice. I could kind of take a break from the transfer portal.
Yeah, you were busy during the transfer portal. You were busy.
So that was good. But yeah, bouncing around, we'll be doing a lot of Mets games next week. I've been doing a lot of Yankees. I'm sure I'll be out at Jets and Giants training camp in a few weeks. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers graces us with his presence.
I hope so.
So yeah, good, man. It's been good. Did the beach yesterday on a day off, so we're good.
All right, so you're all refreshed and relaxed and ready to talk about some New York sports. All right, let's do it. So Zach knows this. We've got some things to get into this week, including the Giants being on Hard Knocks, the Mets needing to take care of business before the All-Star break. But first, we're going to talk about the New York Yankees. We're going to take it to the Boogie Down Bronx. Yeah, because things have not been good in the Boogie Down Bronx, Zach. The Yankees are in the midst of their worst stretch of the season. They've lost 14 of their last 18 games. Now the Red Sox, who they play this weekend, they're just 3 games behind them in the loss column. I got to ask you this. Have the Yanks left the door open in the American League East with their recent play?
Yeah, look, I've felt all along the Orioles were better. Even when the Yankees were a few games better, you look at that Orioles lineup, it's considerably better. I know the Yankees probably have better pitching, but you figure the Orioles are going to add. They obviously have Burns at the top of that rotation. But yeah, look, Red Sox are coming. I mean, Red Sox, Alex Cora is a terrific manager. You see it every year. They overachieve. That team is doing it again. Last night, a perfect example where they absolutely steal one from the Yankees. I know there are Yankee fans who basically think the sky is falling, the season's over. I look at it a little differently. They obviously weren't as good as they were 50 and 22. The pitching was, outperforming. Unless you think Luis Gil is, Pedro Martinez in his prime, he was going to take a step back. Nestor Cortez has not pitched well on the road. So the bullpen is. I felt this all year, even early when they were playing well. It was not a very Yankee-esque bullpen where you didn't have a lot of swing and miss guys. It was just not kind of what you expected. But they're not as bad as they play. We all see it. We see it. We see it with the Mets. Were the Mets all of a sudden an 18-16 over the way they played for a month, or were they all of a sudden a 105-win pace team? No. Teams get hot. Teams get cold. You play 162 games. Now look, there are some major concerns with the Yankees. I felt all along they were too top-heavy. Now Stanton goes down, and that lack of depth really rears its ugly head. Verdugo went from a guy who was an 800 OPS guy until last month, where now he's under 700. That's obviously a concern. Gleyber now is dealing with a groin, and he hasn't been great either. Too much is being asked of Judge and Soto. So there are depth issues, but I don't think you can't say, well, 50 and 22 means nothing and 4 and 14 means everything.
Yeah, but you know that. But you know this. We're both New Yorkers, been around baseball for a long time here. Some of these Yankee fans are going to be right on the ledge. They're right on the edge. They're worried about all this. The sky is falling. This is the worst. I'm with you. The 50 and 22 means something, and you can't say that this recent stretch doesn't mean anything. Do you feel like this team can bounce back from this recent stretch, or are you concerned about how they've been playing? Do you look at it as, hey, they need to turn this around soon?
Yeah, look, I expected the Reds series to be a get-right series. That was the first time, in the last month where I was like, something is up with this team, because I thought they would at least win 2 or 3, if not sweep. The Reds are not a very good team. They're under 500 in a bad National League. And the fact that they got swept at home and the manner in which they did was, to me, eye-opening. And look, this could get worse here. They get 2 more here with the Red Sox at home. And they go to Tampa, which is always tough. Then they go to Baltimore, who's owned them this year. I mean, this could really mushroom. They got to be careful.
You are not making the Yankee fan feel any better right now.
They got it, but I just think this is a very important point of the season for them.
Right. This is an important point.
And I'm not saying you got to go 6-2, 7-1 these last 8 before the break, but it would be nice to go 4-4, maybe 5-3, and kind of get some of that swagger back. But I still look. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win low to mid 90s. This isn't all of a sudden. This team didn't go from 50-22 to, a team that can't win a game.
Right.
Are you going to all of a sudden say a 20 sample size, a game sample size is more important than 70? It's kind of like we talked about the Mets. The Mets have an awesome June, and it doesn't mean May and April don't count. It doesn't mean you got to forget about that. It's still part of who they are. It's a marathon of a season, and now the Mets have kind of gone the other way here, as we've seen. But yeah, I mean, look, there are concerns with the Yankees. There's no doubt. Some serious concerns. Cashman's got to make some moves. One other thing that it's time to just play Rice and Wells. Stop messing around. I don't care if they're lefties. Play them. They got much higher upside. Their daily at-bats are better than the other options. Trevino's obviously killing you with the running game. Just play the kids. Like, it's kind of, kind of the way I feel with the Mets, where they're messing around with McNeil and Iglesias, lefty-righty. These managers in these teams, whether it's the front office, whether it's the managers, they put too much emphasis on lefty-righty. Play your best players.
Just go with the best players.
Right.
And go.
Stop messing around with, oh, well, you got a lefty on the mound, so we got to go to Trevino. And no, just play the kids. The more bats they see, the better they're going to get. It's just, you're doing yourself a disservice. Just stop. Stop the lefty-righty stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I want to ask you this because during the stretch, the bats have been anemic for the Yankees. And then you mentioned this as well. The bullpen has also struggled. Yankee fans who are near the ledge.
Near.
Or at the ledge, I'm sorry.
Near.
I
don't know what Yankee fans you're talking to, but the ones I know are not near a ledge.
Are they over the ledge? Or are you saying they're over?
They're getting close.
They're hanging on to the ledge? Okay,
yeah.
That's something. Yankee fans, you tell me what you're doing. I got to ask you this, because the fans that are near the ledge, at the ledge, over the ledge, they're thinking about the trade deadline.
Right.
What would you like to see the Yankees do at the trade deadline specifically to improve their bullpen? Because that's an area that is going to need a bit of an upgrade. You talked about that. What would you like to see them do at the trade deadline to improve their bullpen?
They needed, to me, at least 2 guys. Now, Loizaga getting hurt really hurt this bullpen. I've always been a big fan of his. I know he's had a lot of injury issues lately. I don't think that's talked about enough, is how much that's hurt them. They need to go out and get 2 guys with swing and miss stuff. Clay Holmes, they're not going to go trade for a closer, but Clay Holmes would really worry me. I mean, you saw it last night. 8 straight sinkers before the guy hits a home run. You can't, unless you're Mariano Rivera and you're throwing the cutter that no one can touch, you can't throw the same pitch 8 straight times. You can't. Eventually, a major league hitter is going to do something with it. But they're most likely not going to trade for a closer. The name you've heard a lot is Tanner Scott from the Marlins, a hard-throwing lefty. I know he's had control problems historically. But that's the kind of guy, a guy who really throws hard, who misses bats. They don't have enough of those guys. They have too many guys who pitch to contact in that bullpen. And, honestly, they have too many guys who just aren't impact relievers. And look, both teams need them. They're not easy to find. But yeah, I think you're looking at that. And look, getting Stanton back obviously will help. Maybe some point late August, Dominguez gets there, and that's another thing that's killed them. Because with Stan out, you could have just brought Dominguez up. Yeah. But obviously that with his oblique, that obviously that wasn't possible. That's, to me, another thing that's really hurt the Yankees, and it obviously happened at an awful time, because he would be here right now. And after what we've seen from him in the minor leagues and his brief stint last year, you can't tell me he wouldn't make a difference. Yeah, we saw him make a difference last year. You saw he could hit the ball, and he absolutely would have an impact. But Yankee fans,
Zach tried to give you some reason here. You don't have to go off the ledge. I don't think they have to go off the ledge.
They're not going to listen to me. Come on.
I'm trying to get them to listen to you. I hope that happens. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long season, Yankee fans. I think Zach's right. I think you'll be okay. All right, let's talk about the New York Mets.
Oof.
Because, that's what we're saying. Oof.
Not much better.
Mets? Wow. This is very disappointing on the New York Sports Rapid Rundown. I was trying to get a little more positivity out of you, Zach. But the Mets,
when you give up 7 homers to the Pirates, it's tough to be positive.
I understand that. Coming off what we saw on Friday with the Mets and the Pirates. Now, even before that, disappointing split with the Nationals.
Yep.
That wasn't too positive early in the week. 4-game series in the Steel City this weekend with the Pirates. Then they have series with the Nats and the Rockies before the All-Star break. Now, each of these teams, and I hope this adds some optimism here, Zach, each of the teams I just mentioned, they all have below 500 records. What would you like to see the Mets accomplish during the stretch? I see you about to stop me there. This 10-game stretch.
Guess who else is under 500?
The Mets. I understand that. And the teams are looking at them that way, too. I get it. But fans are going to say, hey, these are losing teams. Teams are losing records.
Right.
What do the Mets need to do to take care of business against these teams during this stretch before the All-Star break?
I mean, they got to pitch better. You know, the offense was incredible in June. It was going to cool down. There's no question. They have not hit now, since around the fifth inning, since Lindor hit that home run against the Nationals in the third game of that series when they're up 5-0. They really haven't hit much at all now here the last 2.5 games. But the Mets all of a sudden weren't this offensive juggernaut. Yes, they're a good offensive team. I don't think there's any question. I don't think June was a fluke. Obviously JD Martinez starting to get going helped. Alvarez and Vientos either being healthy or getting a shot in terms of both those guys obviously helped. But all of a sudden the Mets are not a team they're not going to average 6 runs a game. That's just not realistic. The pitching has really hurt them. There's no question. Severino's now, his last 2 starts have not been good. I know he went 7 the previous start, but he still allowed 4 runs. And yesterday, you have a 2-0 lead against Paul Skeens. You can't just give it back like that. I actually thought the offense did a pretty good job against Skeens. They got a few bad breaks, especially the Martinez ball. If that's a few feet to the left, it's a hit, and they have another run, and so I actually didn't think the offense was bad against Skeens, who's absolutely incredible, throwing 96-mile-an-hour splitters. I mean, he's the real deal. But it's the pitching, it's the bullpen, it's the starters who we all know have been up and down. I mean, you're not just going to outslug teams. This isn't the 27 Yankees. They're going to go cold. They're going to have, unless you think Alvarez and Vientos are 900 OPS hitters, they're going to cool off. Which is okay. It's part of it. But to me, it's the pitching. And look, Edwin Diaz is back today. There is incredible pressure on him. He has really hurt this team this year. Whether you want to go to May with the blown saves, now this suspension, they go 5-5 in the 10 games. I think they probably go 7-3 if not for the suspension, maybe 8-2. The good vibes have kind of taken a hit here, and he's a big part of that. Look. His legacy here with the Mets is very weird. His first year, we all know, was brutal. 2019, he torched that season in a million different spots. Then he had the amazing 2022. Then he gets hurt last year, and this year he hasn't been good. Let's be fair. He's been bad on the mound, and he's hurt them with his suspension. It wasn't just not having your closer. It was you had one less arm in the bullpen. And the timing of it was brutal because they have, Sean Reed-Foley goes down. Drew Smith goes down. And they have a few good arms coming back, with Montes de Oca and the other, I forget his name, the Japanese reliever who they brought in the offseason. But they're both on rehabs, and they're not quite ready. If the Diaz suspension happened maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, the Mets would have been in a much better position to kind of navigate this. And look, we talked about this off the air, they're not good enough.
Right.
To overcome this kind of stuff. They're not good enough to blow 5-run leads. You knew eventually they were going to cool off. And so those two games where they blew the 5-run leads were killers. because it hurts momentum. And it kind of reminded me of 2019, where that was a real fun team. They were good offensively. And the bullpen, especially Diaz, whenever it looked like they were going to really build momentum and get going, the bullpen crushed them. And you're kind of seeing that a little here.
Well, that's what makes this stretch that he just started on Friday with these 10 games really important, because they want to have some of the momentum going into the All-Star break, and you hope they can do. But I think you made a good point when you stopped me earlier. These other teams are looking at the Mets like, hey, you guys are food too. You're below 500. We can feast. But it kind of makes it important why they need to take care of business. You mentioned this, Zach. You talked about the pitching being the problem in the stretch that we've seen recently. Kodai Senga, he's making progress. He'll be in his next rehab start. It's going to be at AAA. Christian Scott, now back with the team, made his return to the rotation earlier this week. With some of the better young pitchers in their rotation set to be back in action here soon, are you feeling confident about the Mets pitching getting better and seeing an increase in performance from their starters when you have Scott and Senga back in the fold? Does that excite you for the Mets going forward?
Yeah, look, I felt here, for the last month, like the Mets starting rotation was going to get better, because Scott, to me, is, I know he gave up the big 3-run home the other day, but he's clearly an upgrade over Tyler McGill. Senga's their best pitcher. It's easy to forget they haven't had their best pitcher all year. He makes a huge difference. He's finished top 3 in the Cy Young as a rookie. I know he's 30, but as a rookie technically. So yeah, that'll clearly help, and longer outings, and will obviously help the bullpen. It's getting, if you could, you go Senga, Severino, Scott, Minaya, Quintana, Peterson, that's definitely an upgrade. And if they're going to be going to a 6-man, because with Senga, now it gives guys more rest. So maybe your starters can even go deeper into games, because they're not pitching they're pitching every 6th day instead of every 5th day. So that obviously helps. But if this bullpen can't do the job, it doesn't matter.
Right. You could have all the great starting pitching, guys giving you some length, but if you're giving up these leads or you're not keeping your team in games, none of that matters. But listen, the Mets hope they can get a boost with starting pitching, because Mets fans, I'll tell you what, you talk about the Yankee fans being at the ledge or off the ledge or whatever you want to say. If these next 9 games from the time of recording this don't go well, Mets fans might be right at that ledge too, or off the ledge as well.
This is what I will say, though, about the Mets and even about their fans. I think look, there are certain fans who are going to be like upset all the time, but I think most Met fans do understand like what this year was. If they would have lost 95 games, I think people would be furious. But if they win 82, 83 games, miss the playoffs by 2 or 3 games, I don't think Met fans are going to be upset.
Right. They understood that this was
a transition year. Right. Justin Verlander now is out until the All-Star break, which is good for the Mets. He's probably not going to hit his innings, reach the innings quota he needs to get where the Mets have to pay, where the Mets will then, because he's not going to reach this innings limit, the Mets are going to be able to save $17 million. A lot of money's coming off the books as it is. They're going to spend a lot of money this offseason. And this year was always a transition year. I think if you're a Met fan, you've got to be, even if this year is nothing more than 81-81, if Alvarez and Vientos really continue to do what they're doing, if Christian Scott gets more good starts under his belt, maybe you see another younger guy or two come up. That's what this year is about. Right. This year is about setting yourself up for next year and the years to come. And they're going to go out and they're going to go bring in some good players. We talked about it before.
Yeah.
The Mets need pitching. I know everyone's in love with go get Juan Soto.
Uh-oh. Now you're out here killing Mets fans' dreams. I see that.
It's all about pitching, though.
But pitching matters. No.
Look at the Yankees lately. The Yankees have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, and they're not winning games. You look at Mike Trout. Look at Ohtani in Anaheim. If you cannot pitch, you have no chance. And this is not a good pitching staff. I understand they're not having Senga, Diaz having a bad year, getting suspended. So there are, reasons for it. But the Mets have to get much better in the pitching department. And yes, they have some young guys coming up. Brandon Sproat in AA looks the real deal. He got drafted last year, and he's already in AA, putting up crazy numbers. So they do have some good pitching prospects, but they got to supplement that. I'll tell you, if I was the Mets, I'd go out and spend all my money on pitching this offseason.
I don't think that's a bad plan. We will see what the Mets do. It'll be interesting. You talked about pitching being an issue for them this year. We'll see if that happens. But see, Zach is trying to talk you guys off the ledge. Mets fans and Yankee fans alike. it's going to be okay. All right, we got our first look, fans did, at the Giants on Hard Knocks this week, and we saw a conversation where General Manager Joe Schoen and owner John Mara discussed keeping Saquon Barkley. The G-men obviously did not bring back Barkley. They spent money elsewhere to improve their team. What did you make of that conversation and seeing Big Blue on Hard Knocks? And did you think that the team made the right choice in letting Saquon Barkley walk?
This is first thing to say about Hard Knocks is
yes,
the Giants have editorial control here. So nothing they don't want out is going to get out. It almost felt, the Shane stuff with Daniel Jones was fascinating to me because it's almost like he was kind of saying, well, we're giving you your last chance here, and I'm going to tell the whole world, you're getting one more, we're giving you a real chance here. I found that interesting because I think Daniel Jones is what he is. I think he's a good backup quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I don't think he's a starting quarterback. I think he's Sam Darnold. And for years, Jet fans were trying to convince themselves, well, get talent around him. Give him a better offense. I just think he is what he is. For the Barkley stuff, yes, I think they made the right decision. You could lose with him. You could lose without him. They're trying to become a winning team, and paying a running back getting close to 30 big money to me is silly. I understand the Eagles, doing what they did. I mean, the Eagles are obviously a lot closer to winning, even though they had that awful finish the last season.
Right.
The Eagles still have a very good offensive line. I could see Barkley having a really good year there, but I think the Giants' offense, obviously, running game is going to take a hit without Barkley. But I think in the long run, it was the right decision.
It was the right decision for them to make. Okay, but here's the thing, and this is where we might get into how fans feel and see it, because some fans were not happy to see him go. But I think there were some rational fans that understood it. And over the years, Zach, you and I, we've seen players leave New York teams and only come back to torment the team and the fan base. Should Giants fans be concerned that Barkley's going to come back and haunt them next season in an Eagles uniform?
Define haunt. I mean, the Eagles are likely going to beat the Giants anyway, so just because Saquon's
that's haunting, I could say
that. All right, well, just because Saquon's on the team, I mean, you can't.
It adds a little more sting,
when you're in a
position.
Right? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, when you're in a position the Giants are, where you've been bad for the most part, now here for a while, outside of maybe a year off here and there, you can't really worry about a former team player coming back and beating you. You got to do what's best for building your team and looking ahead to the future, and paying Saquon big money just so he doesn't go to the Eagles and haunts you would have been a huge mistake. Yeah, look, if Saquon comes back and goes for two touchdowns and 112 yards or something, yeah, it's going to bother Giant fans. It should bother them. But I think in the long run, it made no sense. Like, what's the point? You're a 6-5, a 6-7 win team, paying a running back big money who's getting close to 30. It was illogical.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Listen, it's not going to make the Giants fans feel any better if Saquon puts up the numbers that you just said. You're going to feel some kind of way about it, but in the long term, I think it was the right move for the Giants.
Yeah,
I'm with you. At least
should have never drafted him at second, but that's another story.
Oh wow, you're just really coming for the fan bases today. Are Giants fans on the ledge? Are they at the?
No.
Where do you see the Giants fans? Are they near the ledge?
I would hope most Giant fans understand they are where they are. That they're not a good team. They have some good pieces. I think the D-line is going to be incredible. Neighbors should be really fun to watch.
Yep.
I actually like their receivers. I think Neighbors is going to be really fun. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, if he can stay healthy, could be a nice player. They have receivers. Now
you don't believe in the quarterback.
No, I don't. And I still think the offensive line's an issue. I mean, is Evan Neal really still going to be a right tackle? I mean, that's what they say. That's what everything you hear, and he was a turnstile last year. It really all starts there. Both teams, both the Jets and the Giants. Like, if your offensive lines look what they looked like last year, you're not going to be very good.
Yeah, we will see. Football right around the corner, training camp.
Hey, after the last week of baseball, you can't wait for training camp.
I'm sure you can. You think things are going south? We got fans near the ledge. The fans are excited for football. I'm sure you cannot wait.
We'll be excited for football for about a week.
Yeah.
We'll be getting ready for the real team in town.
Which is, are we talking about the Knicks?
We are.
We are. We're going to talk about them next. Let's do that. All right. Bonus question. Didn't plan this, had to talk to you about this because you and I, we always text from time to time about different sports teams. We'll talk a little bit of basketball. The Knicks, very interesting offseason. And you're a college basketball guy. So we've got the Nova Knicks, they're complete. Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, now Mikal Bridges in the fold, Zach. Do you like what the Knicks did to get Bridges, and do you see this Knicks team as a team that can truly contend for a championship right now?
Yeah, look, I think you can build Leon Rose a statue.
Leon Rose a statue?
He is done, and look, like most media members, I love to talk to Leon. He doesn't do media stuff, but you know what? Knicks fans don't care as long as he keeps making moves like this, and that's absolutely warranted. He has done a fantastic job here. I don't think there's any doubt. I'm stunned at how good of a job he's done. Look, losing Isaiah Hartenstein hurts, but there's nothing you really can do. The Knicks only could go 4-72. The Thunder were able to pay him a lot more than that. But yeah, I think the Knicks are a legit title contender. The center position is a little worrisome because Mitchell Robinson's always hurt, and they clearly don't have a backup right now. Now, maybe they bring back Precious Achiuwa. There are other options there. Maybe they even wait in season, do a trade before the deadline. But they're going to be terrific. To go with Mikal Bridges, Anunoby, Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo, Randall back, Miles McBride. That's a really good team.
Yeah.
Now, I think the top of the East is going to be really good.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a lot of fun. The Celtics bring back everybody. 76ers obviously bringing in Paul George, and today Caleb Martin, and they've had a few other nice little moves like Andre Drummond and Eric Gordon. Then they're not even talking about Giannis and the Bucks. The Heat, they could always be a pain. The Cavs, I love the Kenny Atkinson hire.
Yep, like that.
The East is going to be really good, but I think the Knicks are going to be fantastic. And it's funny. A few years ago, right when kind of Brunson's first year, and he was playing so well, and then they got Hart, and they were playing so well together. I talked to a lot of Saints. I did a story for Post Plus about, if you're a St. John's fan and a Knicks fan, how do you feel about this?
That's a very conflicting space.
Right.
See that, right?
So for years you watch these guys torture team.
Yeah.
And now you got to root for them, and I just found that interesting. And most of the Knicks and St. John's fans were like, I'm very happy. I'm able to separate it. And I always found that interesting, especially during that Knicks-Sixers series when the Sixers fans who probably were rooting for Villanova now were rooting against those guys.
They're conflicted too.
Right. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I think the Knicks are going to be awfully good. Bridges is terrific. He was kind of miscast as a go-to alpha with the Nets. He'll have more of the role he had in Phoenix, which I think fits him well. We know what the Knicks were with Anunoby last year when he was healthy.
Saw his impact. Yeah.
Brunson's obviously become a fantastic player. I think the Knicks fans should be over the moon.
Look, we got a different place for fans. First throughout the show was at the ledge, over the ledge, off the ledge, whatever you want to call it.
What about Net fans? Where are they?
Nets fans I've talked to are happy that they picked the direction. They're just happy. Now, you might not see them at the Barclays Center. That's a whole nother thing. But they're okay. Knicks fans over the moon, not off the ledge. I like it.
I joked. I joked with one of our editors, and I said, "Is our Nets beat writer going to be a Duke beat writer this year?"
You know what, Brian Lewis? Yeah, you might be.
Get familiar with Cooper Flagg.
Get familiar with Cooper Flagg. I think he'll be doing a lot of sidebars and stories about Cooper Flagg. I think that'll happen.
It's a great. Hey, look, if you're gonna tank and this is a really good. It's much better than having good picks in this next year's draft. This year's draft.
That's
next year's draft's really good. Whether it's Flagg, You know, you have Ace Bailey, who's at Rutgers. He's got a lot of really good players.
Some good players that'll be at the top of that draft. I love that. I like that we're going to end the show with you giving Knicks fans some hope, saying that they're over the moon. I think that's
last year's team they win 50 games, right?
Yep.
They win 50 games despite a number of injuries. They go to Game 7 of the second round despite, basically not having anyone at the end of it. And now you go and add another really good player. Yes, I understand it's a lot of picks. But, if you didn't love that trade, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
because this is why you saved it. This is why you stockpile picks, is to get guys like that. And he might not be a superstar, but he's a very good player, and he fits in perfect.
Ding, ding, ding. That's it, the fit. The fit, I think, is the beauty right there. And that matters a ton in basketball. As you know, I don't have to tell you, that matters a ton in basketball.
And now when you have guys like him and Anunoby and Josh Hart, it's going to be harder for teams to hunt Brunson in the playoffs. We all know Brunson's not a great defender. He does everything he can for his ability, but he is what he is. But when you have so many plus defenders, you can kind of hide him a little bit. And think about when you have Josh Hart, Bridges, Anunoby, and Robinson on the floor, you have 4 just awesome defenders.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
It's going to be fun to watch defense. You and I were there for some games in the playoffs at the Garden. We had a great time seeing the Garden rock, and the Garden will be rocking again next season for sure. This is my guy, Zach Brazilla. We should have done this in Boys and Girls High School.
We should have, man.
We should have done it.
Next time.
Next time, I have to call up.
Or Lincoln.
Place. You know what? Yeah, we're going to have to. Shout out to Rena and Ebed, still the athletic director there. We got to do it there. One of these high schools in Brooklyn, we'll have to do it. Please check out Zach's work. Does a great job covering St. John's, all college basketball stuff. And obviously, he knows a ton about New York sports and also keeping the fans off the ledge. Zach,
off, on, what?
Off, on, or over the moon. Somewhere the fans will be. Somewhere. Zach, appreciate you, man, for coming through on the New York Sports Rundown.
My pleasure, man.
You got to come back. We're going to come back again?
At Lincoln.
At Lincoln. See, Zach's only going to come back on the show if we do it elsewhere. So we got to take the show on the road. We'll do it. Appreciate you, Zach. Thank you so much. And we'll see everybody next week on the New York Sports Rapid Rundown.